Quite interesting. Radioactivity. Applications. Radioactivity. Radioactivity. What comes to your mind? Of course, some kind of radiation, some kind of light, some kind of source of some kind. But it goes beyond that. All right? So let's begin. In 1896, a French physicist by name Henri Becquerel discovered this concept known as radioactivity. What did he do? Very simple. He was experimenting with some elements. And one of such elements is uranium. In the process, he found out that this uranium was giving off. It was giving out some kind of radiation spontaneously on its own. And that alone drew Becquerel's attention. He started to find out what actually was happening, what sort of radiation that this uranium was emitting. Okay, he said, it is not just ordinary radiation, that this radiation could penetrate thick black paper. It could penetrate thick black paper and affect photographic plates or placed on the other side. So the more he tried to study, the more he found things about uranium as a radioactive element. He went forward and then concluded that this could be radioactive of some elements, such as uranium. For an element to spontaneously give off or give out a radiation without anything causing it, that means that element is radioactive. That's his conclusion. And the first element he experimented with was uranium. On its own, it was giving off. It was giving off radiation of some kind. He said, okay, if this could happen with uranium, there could be other elements that have such ability. And any element that could give out radiation spontaneously in that form is referred to as radioactive elements. Elements that can give out radiation spontaneously on their own, they are referred to as radioactive elements. All right? And that's what gave birth to this radioactivity. And then he didn't stop there. When he concluded at this point, Marie Curie and Pierre Curie took it from there. This phenomenon was further confirmed by Marie Curie and Pierre Curie 2 years later. Remember, Becquerel did his in 1896. 2 years later, Marie Curie and Pierre Curie confirmed this. That was 1898. What did Marie Curie and Pierre Curie did? What did they do? What they did was, instead of using uranium elements as a radioactive element, they said, no, let's use uranium ore. Okay? This is interesting. Let's use uranium ore. The reason being that uranium ore is more intense radioactive source than ordinary uranium element. I repeat, why they decided to use uranium ore instead of using ordinary uranium elements was because they noticed that uranium ore was more intense a radioactive source than ordinary uranium element. They said, okay, and they confirmed this because when they started using uranium ore, they found out other elements which couldn't have been possible if they had used uranium elements as a radioactive element. All right? So they use the ore. And as an intense ore, they were able to discover more radioactive elements, such as polonium, radium, first set of elements that were discovered, and after which they discovered the thorium, radon, ionium, and so on and so forth. So that's what that means. So the concepts that gave birth to radioactivity is all this. They say for an element, a radioactive element in that case, to give out radiation without anything causing it, that such is known as radioactivity. And the element doing it, the element giving out the radiation, is known as a radioactive element. So all these ones, including the uranium elements, polonium, radium, thorium, radon, and the ionium, all of them form what we call radioactive elements. So that's what we're trying to say here. So if this resonates with you, we are going to look at applications of uranium, or the characteristics of radiation from uranium. We are going to do that. We're also going to look at characteristics of radiation from polonium, radium, thorium, radon, ionium, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a long study.